Hey guys, Jerry Beerman with Conduit, and today our podcast guest is a good friend of mine, Don Kennedy. Don Kennedy is the owner, operator of ProMaster Home Repair. All right, so Don's been instrumental in helping me work on some language around like the 4 stages of business that we're going to talk about for a few minutes: the solopreneur, the growth stage, the mature stage, and the legacy stage. And so Don, as we again, for the listeners, if they're a solopreneur, if we could spend some time discussing give the listeners again a perspective of your business when you jumped in, and as it relates to a solopreneur and what you've seen, which we can spend some time talking about now.
Right.
Give us your background from a solopreneur standpoint, and let's start talking about solopreneur, the pros and cons, and how to help train and equip them for the next stage.
Okay. A lot to say here. Try to go through this quickly.
Yeah.
So first, never started as a solopreneur. I started like Jerry as the orchestra director. On day one, when I
Yeah.
opened the business with my first customer taking phone calls, right? I had 6 employees. 3 quit the first week. Okay. But I was not
Wow.
the guy going out doing the work myself. I have gone out in the field and done some of that in years past. Okay.
Yep.
So you may say, well, then what does Don know about solopreneurship or the sole proprietor?
Yeah.
Well, I primarily hire those folks. And so I've listened in excess as I recruit and interview in excess over 5,000 conversations with these people over the last 15 plus years. So I know their pain well, I know their world well. And one thing that I want to differentiate first is I think there's a difference between like the solopreneur who's truly trying to run a business versus someone who is self-employed. So those have very different dynamics, and it's important for us to at least articulate that distinction.
Mhm.
Maybe that subcontractor is a single trade category person that's a 1099. And so they're not worried about marketing their business, selling their own jobs. Maybe they don't have to provide material and do much in the way of financial accounting as opposed to maybe pay quarterly taxes. And if they even do that at all, because a lot of them, it's just money under the table, right? Maybe they don't even have insurance. Maybe they, all those types of things that you start getting into. Okay, you're a single member business where you are having to market, you are having to sell, you have to think about your schedule and your time. And now you have a customer base that you answer to, and it gets a little bit more complex. And those are the people that I've typically worked with over the years. And I would say the number one thing that characterizes those people is they are really unaware that they would have to wear all of the different hats that they're required to wear to make that life work. And there's positives about it. They love the freedom, the flexibility. It satisfies their ego. Hey, I'm doing my own thing. That's the number one thing I've heard from guys in this industry. Oh, I always wanted to do my own thing. It's not all it's cracked up to be. Trust me. The
No doubt.
novelty of being in your own business
Yeah.
wears off real fast after you've been kicked in the teeth a bunch of times
Or
and you're
lower.
watching. Oh, yeah, you're so broke, you're on the other side. And this even happened to me early in business. You're so broke, you're on the other side of town. You put that credit card into the gas pump. You know it's at its limits. Like, I'm out of gas. I got to get home tonight, right? I have no cash in my pocket. And you sitting here waiting. Come on, approved. Yes, I can get, like we've all been there, right? It's like, so they're unaware. They're really unaware until
Yeah.
they live it. Oh my gosh, I have to do all of these different things myself, and I have to be sort of good at all of these things
Yeah.
myself. Then they're working 80 hours a week to try to go out, do the work. Maybe they have somebody here or there that can help them with a second set of hands on a while, but they're working all day on a job site. Then they got to go, oh man, I got to go look at a job. Then I got to write it up. Oh, I got to do some invoicing. Oh, I got to collect payment. Oh, I got to worry about my taxes, my insurance. Oh, my truck needs a new set of brakes. Like, this just goes on and on and on. I tell guys all the time. I've given this piece of advice. It's universally ignored. But for all the solopreneurs out there, this is my best piece of advice. Pick one. Either become a business developer and grow your business so you can take off some of those hats.
Yeah.
Okay. Or go to work for someone else where you can focus in on what it is that you love doing. If it's wiring circuits, if it's getting sawdust in your hair, if it's running an excavator, whatever it is that got you into this line of work that you really love, that you wanted to make a business out of it, pick a lane. Because if you try to do both, I guarantee you it's going to cost you something. It's going to cost you your marriage. It's going to cost you your relationship with your kids. It's going to cost you your sanity. or it's going to cost you your health or all of it. And I have watched it happen thousands of times. And I tell guys, look, I'm a smart guy. I'm a workaholic. I'll outwork most anybody. I got that from my father, but I couldn't do both. I couldn't go out in the field and be swinging a hammer 40, 45 hours a week and run a business. I couldn't do it. And if I couldn't do it, how do you expect you to do it, right? So pick, pick a lane, develop your business, right? Or go find a great business that you can be part of and add value to.
That's good. That's good. You know, and I wonder, I'll probably invite Don Patton on. Don's a very good friend, longtime friend. He retired when he was 71, I think, and he ended his career as a solopreneur.
Mhm.
He's rare air. He's one of the guys that, as a solopreneur, picked in, you know, he picked his jobs that were the right jobs. He priced the jobs well. His secret, his superpower, not his secret, his superpower is his financial acumen.
He
So
was super organized, that guy.
yes,
Super
and
organized.
yes, and so he knew every penny that was coming in and going out, and so he as a solopreneur is. As a matter of fact, I can't think of many guys. He's the only one that really comes to mind of somebody
Yeah.
that has been able to be a solopreneur and amass, sorry, Don, you know, enough wealth to retire.
Yeah.
He would be embarrassed by that statement, but I would say that he was able to build his business as a solopreneur that I've just not seen other people do. And you already hit on it, is because of his attention to detail. And I'm not just talking about the craft. I mean, the business. He's an outlier for sure. You know, the
I
attention.
do wonder if it was easier for his generation than it was for the upcoming generation to do that. We live in such a more complex, litigious society today. And
Hmm,
so I just think, and it's a less business friendly environment than it has been in generations past. So I just wonder if that's just even harder for younger people to do today than it was, for the baby boomers or, silent generation types.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. A couple things that we have on the solopreneur, that again, the three main buckets of every business that we talk about, right? The sales bucket, sales and marketing bucket, the operations bucket, the finance bucket. We just alluded to the finance
Mhm.
buckets, typically a shit show in for solopreneurs. But speak to, as you're in this stage, and so to your point,
Mhm.
you're one of the conduit facilitators. You're gonna have a couple young men that are very good friends of mine that are currently solopreneurs that are really business development guys. You're gonna have them in your mastermind group that starts next
Mhm.
week. As you are coaching them, as you're advising them, as you're mentoring them, from a sales standpoint, from an operations standpoint, what are some of the, and even from a finance standpoint, let's hit
Mhm.
all three. Give the listener that's sitting here saying, well, Don, okay, I want to be that development guy. Give
Yeah,
me, right? Give me some coaching here.
sure. We could be here all day on this, but let's
I
boil
know.
it down to some of the most important. I think the first one is everything you do in your business at some point, even when you're by yourself, I want you to do it thinking someday I'm not going to be doing this. I did this throughout my entire business development journey. I even still do it today because there are still tasks in the business I do that no one else does. And I'm always thinking, how do I systematize how do I systematize this myself such that
Yeah,
soon or someday I won't be doing this? And in many cases, it's going to be someone who doesn't care as much about it as me. In
yeah,
some cases, it might be a person that's better at it than me. Unlikely not, because I'm pretty awesome. And let's be honest, most of us business owners, we're pretty awesome at what we
sure.
do because we care. Not because yeah, I'm a smart guy, but not because I'm intelligently smarter than anybody, but just because you care a whole lot, right? So how do you do this in such a way that if I hire Smedley and Smedley comes in, and incidentally, for the folks listening, Jerry and I, whenever we talk about that abstract employee that we're going to hire, his name's
Medley.
always Smedley.
Yeah,
or, maybe we need to come up with a female Smedley too. I don't know who would that be. Maybe some of the listeners can put that in the comments for us on this one. It's like, but so when you hire that person, the process that you're doing things may make sense to you, but would that generally work? Could you quickly train someone? Is it documented? I know that sounds silly. Well, it's just me. It's like, well, do you want it to always just be you? So you're not going to need to do that everything today, but just get the ball rolling on that, thinking through, hey, my sales process, how I do invoicing, right?
Good.
How I schedule, how I communicate,
It's
what
good.
email templates do I use, my technology, right? Like how do I just scale this to 2 or 3 people? If you can't picture how that could happen with your current process, you might want to step and go, okay, this may be actually difficult for me to do this a different way, but at least I know this would be scalable for me to hand off to somebody else. So comment on that real quick there, Jerry, and how that applies, maybe in your business or how you've seen that help other people that are at that stage.
Well, as you're saying that, I'm like, gosh, that's such great sage wisdom from you, Don, because that, as a solopreneur, you're probably playing whack-a-mole, right? So you're just like, you're a firefighter. It's like, what do I have to deal with right now? And so few solopreneurs have the foresight to think about what's coming next as I'm a business developer.
Mhm.
I'm in a business development mindset, which we're going to talk in a minute about the mature stage and
Yeah.
then, or sorry, the growth stage, and then moving into the mature stage. But eventually what we know about that solopreneur is they're going to have to document stuff, right? They're going to have to document their best practices. This is the
Mhm.
way, ProMaster Home Repair, when it's just you and your first 6 guys and 3 of them quit in the first week.
Yeah.
The last thing that you're thinking on Saturday when you're doing your paperwork is to start documenting ProMaster home repair best practices. But if you had to go speak to Don Kennedy when he was launching in his first week, you would likely coach him to say, hey, take 30 minutes on Saturday or 3 hours and start documenting what you learned this week that you think will be a ProMaster best practice in the future. So I think
I
that's
agree.
good.
And just to take a little pressure off our young guys, because you hear that word document, like, oh gosh, I don't have, okay, you don't have time. That's okay. That's okay. When you get to our stage, we do need to write things down a little bit more and map things out on flow charts and pictures and diagrams and do training videos and all that kind of stuff. But when you're at that young stage, at least have it documented in your brain such that if I was new and I asked you,
Yeah.
hey, Frank, okay, I'm new to your company. Walk me through how you do a write up and deliver it to your customer. You could go, well, Don, here's how I do it every single time, and I've thought about this such that this will be easy for you to write. If you can even do that, you're going to be so far ahead of where so many people are already.
100%. Yeah, 100%. And I would even think voice dump. Like if you don't want to write it down, at least get it on a voice recorder. And yeah, anyway, so yes, as you're saying that really resonates with me. And I, like you, you started with 6 employees. I started with 0. They were all 10, excuse me,
Mhm.
1099s.